When someone close to you hurts you, especially someone you love, there's an almost overwhelming urge to confront them immediately. You want to clear things up right now. Why did you do this to me? Don't you care how I feel? How could you? And that's normal. You're human. You have emotions, feelings, expectations. And you have every right to feel pain. But the issue is not what you feel, it's what you do with that pain. Remember, never try to sort things out with a man who has just hurt you. Not that same evening, not the next day, not while you're still boiling inside. Why? Because at that moment you are emotionally vulnerable, and he is either cold or deaf to your feelings. That's not a dialogue between two adults. It's a monologue of pain, and no one wants to listen to that. You think you're having a conversation to gain clarity. In reality, you're screaming to be heard. But the louder you get, the more he pulls away. It's not necessarily because he doesn't care. It's because at that moment, a man needs to save face, stay in control, resist emotional pressure, and you want him to admit he's wrong, to feel remorse, to comfort you. In that setup, you're not hearing each other at all. What's actually happening when you try to talk things through? You come in with your pain, hoping he'll understand, but he defends himself, or gets irritated, or goes silent, and all you get in return is a deeper sense of hurt. You felt bad before. Now it's worse. He was the one who hurt you. Now he won't even listen. It becomes a vicious circle. You're in pain, you talk about it, he shuts down, you feel even worse. And so it spirals downward. This is called the dynamic of the victim and the indifferent. The more you suffer, the more he detaches. The more you try to explain, the more he feels pressured. And it's not because he's a bad person. It's because you're speaking the language of emotion, and he's currently speaking the language of avoidance. Now think about what you're risking when you start a conversation about feelings with the man who just hurt you. You're risking your value in his eyes. Yes, it sounds harsh, but the truth is, a man responds to signals. He doesn't dissect long dialogues or map out emotional landscapes. He simply senses, she's suffering, that means I can affect her. And then it's simple. The more you suffer in response to his actions, the more power you give him. He already knows, I can hurt her and she'll still be there, trying to talk, trying to explain how much it hurt. At that point, you're no longer the woman he wants to protect. You're the woman who comes back on her own. You stop being a significant figure to him and become an accessible emotion. And what's easily accessible loses its value. So what should you do? The first and most important thing, don't act on impulse. Don't write long messages. Don't initiate a serious conversation. Don't expect him to understand your pain at once. In the moment of hurt, your task is not to talk to him, it's to bring yourself back to yourself. Psychologists call this self-preservation. Your main task right now is not to dig for answers, but to stop the inner rupture. If you want to save the relationship, if you want to save yourself in the relationship, you cannot start a conversation in the moment of pain. You cannot explain that you've been hurt, because the person who hurt you already did it. And if he hasn't come to you with remorse, that conversation won't give you anything. Only new pain, a sense of humiliation, and the feeling that you're second best. When you stay silent, you're not losing, you're observing. When you pull away, you're not retaliating, you're reclaiming your worth. When you don't initiate a conversation, you're not running from resolution, you're giving yourself space to ask, is this even worth continuing? That's why the best thing you can do when a man you love has hurt you is not to confront him. It's to preserve your dignity. And watch, because it's in the silence that everything becomes clear. The one who truly values you will make the first move. When you've been hurt, humiliated, betrayed, or simply treated with coldness, you experience a natural urge, either to get everything back or to burn everything down. In such moments, women often feel the impulse to either take revenge or to beg, but neither restores your power. The most important thing to understand is this: you are not obligated to suffer just because someone hurt you. Suffering is a choice. Pain, yes, it arises involuntarily, but what comes next is a choice: to stay in that pain or to walk out of it with dignity. There's an important principle in life: Pull away so clarity can come. As soon as you feel you've been hurt, you don't need to explain how bad you feel. You need to take a step back, not because you're proud, but because you're valuable. And valuable women don't chase after those who hurt them. What happens when you remain silent? A man is confronted with something unusual. You don't act like everyone else. You don't throw tantrums, send paragraphs of text, or demand explanations. You disappear calmly, without drama, without shouting. And that has more impact than any words ever could. The man may not immediately understand what happened, but he will feel the emptiness that used to be filled with your energy, your care, your attention. And if he values you, he will start to worry. If he doesn't, you'll see that too. But you'll see it in silence, not in shouting, and that is honest. There are 3 steps a woman must take if she's been hurt and wants to preserve herself. Emotional stop. Halt the internal flow. Don't give in to the impulse to act immediately. Breathe. Write down your feelings. Cry in solitude. But don't pour it all onto him. While you're in emotion, you're weaker. And weakness in a relationship where hurt has already occurred is a very vulnerable position. Tactical disappearance. This is not manipulation, it's about distance. Remove yourself from his field. Don't text, don't call, don't like his posts. Don't try to remind him of yourself or provoke jealousy. Let him feel that he's lost something valuable. Silence is the best way to show a man that you're not clinging to him. Focus on yourself. Shift your attention from him to yourself. What do you want? What do you need right now, aside from for him to understand? Return to yourself, your body, your sleep, your appearance, your habits. When you begin to take care of yourself, you reclaim your power. And feminine power lies in energy, in your state, not in yelling or blaming, but in the quiet, strong presence of yourself in your own life. Many women are afraid. What if he thinks I don't care? What if he leaves? What if he doesn't understand? The answer is simple. If he doesn't take a step toward you, then he was never your person. If a man truly values you, he will feel your distance and want you back. Not because you threw a tantrum, but because you left silently. And that is where your strength lies. A woman who doesn't rush to explain herself, who doesn't beg, who doesn't seek justice, both intimidates and inspires. Because she is free. And you can't treat a woman like that carelessly. With such a woman, a man wants to be careful. That's why the best thing you can do after being hurt is not to seek resolution, but to pull away. Not to punish, but to ask yourself, do I even want to be with someone who hurt me and didn't apologize first? A woman who has been hurt often falls into a trap. She hopes that if she expresses her feelings, if she shows how badly she feels, the man will understand and change. But respect is not born from pity, and love does not return through reproaches. A man begins to value a woman not when she is suffering, but when she knows how to quietly walk away from someone who has caused her pain. Women have 2 key resources, attention and access, and these are exactly what must be wisely switched off when you've been hurt. Most women do the opposite. They begin giving the man even more attention, so he understands, so he notices, so he feels guilty. But this only increases his detachment. He senses that you're still there, still emotionally dependent, which means he can continue behaving however he wants. Respect begins with boundaries. When a woman, after being hurt, doesn't scream, doesn't beg, doesn't chase, but calmly steps aside, a man is met with an unexpected reaction. He expects the usual, tears, blame, long messages, but instead he gets silence. And this silence destroys his usual script. He doesn't know what to do now. He starts thinking, and that is the first step toward realizing his mistake. A woman's self-respect begins where explanations end. If you've been hurt, it's not your job to sort everything out. You're not his teacher, not his therapist, not his mother. You're a woman who's been hurt. Your job is not to endure, not to explain, not to spell everything out. Your job is to walk away. That is real maturity. And yes, it's hard. You want to speak, to escalate, to get the truth. But the truth is, respect begins with silence. A man needs to feel it. Only then can he face the consequences of his actions. And one more important thing, no half measures. If you've pulled away, don't come back for an hour to check, just to talk. Don't lower your worth. Don't check whether he noticed. This is not a strategy, this is a position. Either you leave and hold that boundary, or you become someone who can be treated however he wants again. A woman who is not afraid of being alone is invincible, because she doesn't cling to a relationship out of fear. She chooses only those relationships where she is respected. A man can feel that. His internal compass doesn't follow words, it follows signals. And if you're sending the signal, I can walk away and not break, you become valuable. Because you're not needy, you're choosing. What happens next? If you are truly valuable to him, he will take action. He will show up, text, call, try to reestablish contact. And here's the key idea, don't get excited right away. Because often a man returns not because he understood, but because he lost control. He doesn't want you back, he wants back the convenience you provided. And in that moment, it's important not to rush back. It's important to ask yourself, did he truly understand he acted wrongly, or did he just get scared that I left? This is tested by time, by behavior, not by words, but by actions. If he apologizes, rethinks his behavior, starts respecting your feelings, then maybe it's worth continuing. But if he simply comes back as if nothing happened, that's not love. That's the desire to regain his usual control over you. That's why it's important not to confront. Because in the moment when you are silent, for the first time he starts to speak. And what he says and does from that point on means everything. That is where his true attitude toward you, toward your boundaries, toward his own responsibility becomes clear. That is where you finally get a chance not to destroy everything, but to build something new. But this time on entirely different terms. Silence worked. He came back. He texted, he called, he started showing attention. He said he missed you. Maybe he even apologized. And now you're standing before the hardest decision of all, to forgive or not to forgive, to start over, or to keep your boundaries intact. The hardest part of this moment is that you still love him. You remember not just the pain, but also all the good things. You want to believe, but you're afraid. What if it all happens again? In this case, apply a clear filter not through words, but through actions. The fact that he showed up is not a reason to celebrate. It's a reason to observe. A man can miss you and still not change. He can ask for forgiveness without understanding what he did wrong. He can say all the right things and still act exactly the same. What matters is not what he says, but how he behaves. If you want to know whether he's truly changed, don't listen. Watch. There are a few signs that a man has truly understood his fault. He doesn't make excuses, he takes responsibility. He brings up on his own that he realizes he hurt you. He doesn't demand immediate forgiveness, he gives you time. He becomes more attentive to your boundaries, your words, your reactions. He doesn't pressure you, doesn't invalidate your feelings, doesn't try to convince you to forget everything. If you don't see these things, be careful. Because very often, a man comes back not because he's had a revelation, but because you stopped being convenient. And now he simply feels uncomfortable without you. But that's not remorse, that's fear of being alone, fear of losing the familiar. And if you return right away, nothing will change. The same cycle will repeat. He'll realize you're back, and that means he can go right back to how he used to act. True forgiveness isn't taking the hit, it's restoring respect. If you feel ready to give him a second chance, start with something simple. Change the format of your communication. Don't jump back into the relationship right away. Maintain some distance. Speak briefly and calmly. Watch how he responds to your coolness. Does he look you in the eye? Does he notice how you feel? Don't rush things. Real intimacy isn't rebuilt in a single meeting. If you forgive, don't forget what you forgave. That doesn't mean you should constantly remind him of the betrayal. It means you shouldn't erase your boundaries. If the man once again invalidates your feelings, is rude again, cold again, then nothing has changed. And it's not that you're too demanding. It's just that you're dealing with someone who doesn't know how to love gently, and you have every right to reject that kind of love. And one more thing, don't rush into intimacy. After being hurt, time must pass. You are not obligated to be tender, sexual, emotionally available right away. This is your protection. Your system is recovering. And if the man truly values you, he will wait. He'll stay close without pressuring, rushing, or demanding, and only then will you know. This isn't just a return out of habit. It's a genuine step toward you. Most importantly, don't betray yourself in order to save the relationship. Because a relationship in which you betray yourself is no longer a relationship. It's a transaction. And in that transaction, you're always on the losing end. That's why, even when a man comes back, you must not lose yourself. You are not his second chance. You are his only chance to prove he's worthy of being by your side. And only if he understands that, only then is it worth trying again. Sometimes the hardest thing is not to fight, but to do nothing at all. Not to text, not to explain, not to tug at his sleeve, not to demand apologies, not to create a scene, but simply to walk away. Walk away with dignity. Not to punish, not to manipulate, but to remind yourself, I have the right to be respected. In the moment you've been hurt, you face two paths: save the relationship or save yourself. And if you choose the latter, you've already won. Many women are used to a certain script: endure, wait, give another chance. We're taught from childhood to be good, understanding, forgiving. We're told, so what if he hurt you as long as he came back? But what if coming back isn't a sign of love, but just convenience? What if you're still there not because you're respected, but because you're always the one who returns first? Don't try to talk things out when you've been hurt. Just take a step to the side. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong. A woman's strength isn't in shouting or in confrontation. It's in the ability to leave without a scene. In the ability to pull herself away from someone who causes pain. In the ability to live through hurt without breaking, without hardening, without humiliating herself. If you're in pain right now, don't try to heal it through conversation. Pain is healed in silence. Respect is restored through quiet. Self-worth is rebuilt in solitude. Until you truly feel that you are not a victim, not weak, not to blame, but simply a person who has the right to be treated with care and respect. No one else will treat you any differently. Never forget, a man who hurt you once can hurt you again. Not because he's a bad person, but because you showed him it's possible, that you'll forgive everything, swallow everything, tolerate everything. Thousands of women fall into this trap, being too understanding, too patient, too convenient. And little by little, they disappear from their own lives, dissolving in someone else's needs. That's why real self-love begins where the need to prove something to someone else ends. If you've been hurt, don't prove you're in pain. People aren't blind. They see everything. It's just that some draw conclusions and others test how far they can go. You don't have to be strong, but you do have to be true to yourself, because only you decide who gets to be beside you. Your silence, it's not weakness, it's your boundary. Your distance, it's not coldness, it's self-respect. And your absence, it's not a game. It's a clear signal. You can't treat me badly. I'm going where I'm treated well. If someone values you, they'll understand. If they don't, you've avoided future pain. But in any case, you've chosen not to destroy yourself because of someone else's guilt. You've chosen yourself. And that is the strongest thing a woman can do. No scandal, no drama, no yelling. Just calmly, firmly, honestly, stand up, close the door, and never return to where she was hurt. Because love doesn't begin with words. It begins the moment you stop asking for what should be given freely. Respect, attention, care. And if those things aren't there, don't ask, just leave. And never look back. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. See you next time.